Shalom, shalom. hmm Shalom, shalom, Most High in Christ. We starting up in a second. Thank you, Father God, for another day, another night. Thank you for waking us up this morning. Thank you for all your blessings. Forgive us for all our sins, known and unknown. Give us the strength to overcome the demons that we fight on a day-to-day basis. Father God, we thank you for the Sabbath, for a day of rest, for a day to convocation, a day that we have a break away from all labors, all stress and all matters of the world. We come together and praise thee, go through thy scripts, convocate and refresh ourselves to go back out to deal with this crooked captivity for another week. Father God, we praise thee and we thank thee. We give you the glory and all the honor and all the praise. And Father God, we ask for on the Sabbath day, a day of rejuvenation, but most of all, building of the spirit. Give us more understanding of thy strong, of thy meats, thy precepts, thy milk. Give us the ability to take something from it and apply it to our day-to-day life. In your Son Christ's name, we give you the glory, we give you the honor, we give you the praise. We thank thee. Amen. All right. Shalom, shalom, Most High in Christ. Happy Sabbath. I'm your host, Judea, here at One Nation Israelite School, or Israelite Hall. And we'll be starting up in a second. Most High in Christ. Shalom for the spiritual breakfast. Shalom, shalom. Most High in Christ. So we're in a land where we must remember that first and foremost, I'm saying it's been a long week. It's been hard. I thank the Most High for carrying me through the rest of it because I know I ain't do it by myself. So what we need to remember is that we're in a land that at no point in time can we ever become attached to it. I mean, there's certain things we got to do. We got to move with wisdom through it to be able to navigate through this wicked kingdom, but we can never become attached to it. It's one thing that's in this land that's gonna always remember the Most High said, Psalms. Psalms 94:16. Psalms chapter 94 and verse 16. Psalms 94:16, and it reads, Who will rise up against? Who will rise up for me against evil? Salakia. Who will rise up for me against the evildoers? Or who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity? So the Lord is always, he's asking, in the time, who's going to stand up for him? And who's going to stand for righteousness? Who's going to stand up for the Lord against evildoers? Who will stand up against the workers of iniquity, the workers of sin? Where we dwell, remember where we dwell at. We'll never be able to be hand in hand with America, because the Lord is looking for those who are going to rise up against evildoers, rise up against the workers of iniquity. But America's 1-1. America is the land of the wicked. Remember where we dwell at. Go on to Revelation. I'm looking for something specific. And going to Revelation chapter 2. And I'll read verse. Start at verse 13. Revelations 2 and 13. Revelations 2 and 13, and it reads. Now, remember, this is when when I'm reading this, we're talking about something that you got to understand about America, because the Lord is looking for those who stand up against evildoers, against the workers of iniquity. Well, this is America. You can never be hand in hand with America, because America is 1-1 with sin. Why? It says, I'm going to start at 12. Revelations 2 and 12, and it reads, And to the angel of the church of Pergamos, write, These things I said, he which hath the sharp sword with two edges. I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. You know what I'm saying? Even where Satan's seat is. America today, where's the land of Satan's seat today? That's America. The great whore, Babylon, spiritual Egypt, the spiritual Sodom, all the places that represented confusion, wickedness, and were similarly cast down. So it says, I know thy works, and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is, and hold fast thou holdest fast my name, and hast not denied my faith, even in those days wherein Antipas was my faithful mortal. Faithful mortal is one who he died in the name of Christ faithfully, who was slain among you where Satan dwelleth. And the same thing is to come. There's going to come a point in time where the Lord told us already that people would slay the prophets and the true believers of God and think to themselves they were doing God's work. But they all working hand in hand with the hand of Satan, all wickedness. But one I wanted was, I know thy works where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. America is the seat of Satan. That's where. So with that being said, understand this is not our rest. This is why when we came, we were never supposed to get tied up and entangled into America and get going in the ways. But due to our coming up, and our fathers and our mothers dropping the ball. Laws and commandments wasn't pushed to us. We wasn't raised up in the commandments like the Bible told us to be. Some of us we can give some credit to our parents for this. Most of us, they, even if it was in a it was the most worst, some of the worst ways ever, but they somehow at some point they gave you one of these. They gave you a Bible. You kind of gave you a Bible. You know what I'm saying, maybe took you to a church or two or whatever the case may be, but it was some type of roots to bring you back somehow back to this eventually. Remember, say train the child up in the way that he would go, and then when he older, he would never leave it. You got your foundations from whatever your foundations was. That's what somehow you end up coming back to it some way. But we just found the right way. But the foundation was this. It wasn't a Muslim. It wasn't to be that. It wasn't to be this. It wasn't to be that. It gave you the Bible. They didn't understand it. They didn't read it. But the Lord ordained thee before you was in the womb. So that's why we somehow at the end of the journey, you make it back to, if they ask you what your belief system was, it was based upon this. But so it says, who's going? So America is Salaki. All right. So, well, Satan seated. So now understand this. Who's going to rise up against the evildoers and the workers of iniquity? Well, that's why you can never be hand in hand with America, because America is the seat of Satan, and it works hand in hand with it. That's why the Lord told us to come up out of her. Let's go to Revelation 18. Revelation chapter 18, verse 4. Revelation chapter 18, verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, that you receive not of her plagues. So it says, come up out of her. Come up out of America, come up out of her ways, her fashions, her lifestyles, her customs, her false religions, her false ways of living. It's immoral. Now, remember, what does America do? Everybody who joins in with America, notice what I said. It tells everything is explained in the verse when it tells you. It says, I heard a voice say, "Come." I heard a voice from heaven saying, "Come up out of her, my people, and be not partakers of her sin." If you come up into America, you join in, you are in sin. It's just letting you know off dribble. You can't be a part of this thing. Come up out of her sins. Be not partakers of her sins, that you receive not of her plagues. It's telling you a destruction is coming to this place. The destruction is coming to this place. Everybody that comes into America and that buys into the ways of America, eventually what happens to them? What happened to our nation? Let's read it. Isaiah chapter 60. Isaiah chapter 60 and verse 2. Isaiah chapter 60 and verse 2. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. It says darkness. Now remember, what does darkness stand for? Darkness stands for evil, wickedness, also a blindness. It can play for blindness as well. So it says, for behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. What does that mean, gross darkness? What does it mean, gross? You got a gross pay and then you got a net pay. It says a gross darkness shall cover the people, meaning they were going to be covered in filth. That's what happens when you join the ways of America. Look at our nation. Let's finish this verse though. It says, for behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. Now, it says gross darkness shall cover the people. The people that, when it says that, but The Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen in thee. That's going to be the brothers and sisters that's in the Lord's commandments. We woke up, we understand who he is, and we are the people who were sent to try to uncover the people, to bring them from out of darkness into some type of light, and what we hopefully before the Lord return. But it says we're going to be covered in gross darkness. Darkness, remember, that's talking about wickedness, sin. And so think about, like I said, what happens? Look at our nation. Look at our nation. Things that we know are straight up wickedness. When you become one with America, it's not wicked anymore. You see nothing wrong. Like even a certain way you roll about it. Like the Lord said that put a mark upon them that sigh and cry at the abominations that go on in the wicked land. That's the mark of righteousness. The ones that hate it, they sigh and cry at it. There was a point in time. Let me show you how you know that people are covered in gross darkness. There was a time where being a homosexual wasn't cool at all. It wasn't no such thing as, well, if that's what you want to do, that's fine, long as you don't. No, that was not that. It was never that. When we went to school, being a homosexual was, yeah, it wasn't cool at all. It wasn't cool at all. It wasn't no, oh, as long as you keep that over there. No, that's a part of you being covered in gross darkness now. That's acceptings of it now. You know what I'm saying? At one point, that was called a mental illness. But now it's, but so watch this. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon real quick. Watch this. Hold on, let me make sure this one thing for. That's not what I'm looking for. Let's go to Second Ezra. He said that people will be covered in gross darkness. That's what I was talking about. I think, yeah. They will be covered in gross darkness. And look at everything, everybody. Look at what happened to our nation. Everybody that's joined in with America. Where is it at? Where is it at? Oh yeah, the type of stuff that was going, like, let's go to Wisdom of Solomon. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, 1917. 19 and 17. So now, and when you talk about this land being just like Sodom, because we think about, just think about this for a second. Remember I told you how homosexuality was never looked at as a cool thing. It was never acceptable. It was never okay, long as you keep it over there. Or if that's what you want to do, that's fine. It was never that. It was frowned upon. But coming into America, what happened? The bewitching and being covered in the darkness, and sin increasing to such a high level, in it being acceptable and being okay, and actually being an agenda that's pushed amongst our nation. Why? Because what do we read in Judith? We read in Judith that the nations know that if we sin against our God, we are to their ruin. Their kingdom will reign. But if we keep the laws and commandments, our God fights for us. So they push these agendas, and they push bewitchings, and they push all these things to keep us in the midst of sin and wickedness. But the sin and wickedness the sin and wickedness is rewarded. It's looked at high standards. It's actually judgments and punishments put upon those who speak against these things to keep those things going and to keep others in subjection, and also to make it more acceptable, more appealing, and to draw in more people. You look at our nation, it's always getting rewarded for evil and it's being punished for righteousness. But this is the type of stuff that was going on in Sodom and Gomorrah, and this is the type of stuff that you see that's likewise going on where? In today, Sodom and Gomorrah or America. It says, in verse 17, Wisdom of Solomon 19 and 17. Wisdom of Solomon 19 and 17, and reads, therefore, even with blindness were these stricken, and those were at those, and as those, Salakia, let's read it again. Therefore, even with blindness were these stricken, as those were at the doors of the righteous man. You know what that's talking about? Back when Lot, when the angel came to Lot's door, these wicked men came to the door and they wanted to do what? How many of y'all remember the story? In Genesis, they wanted to rape the angel that came through the city. They wanted to rape him. So they came to the righteous man's door because that's what the angel was. Remember, he was inside of Lot's house, and they came to Lot's door for him, stricken with darkness, gross darkness, and evil, right? So it says, verse 17, therefore with blindness were those stricken, as those were at the doors of the righteous man, when being compassed about with horrible great darkness, everyone sought the passage of his own doors. Meaning everybody started doing what the hell they want to do. Everybody started going along with certain things. What type of stuff was going on in Sodom? This right here. We're gonna start at 14. For the Sodomites did not receive those whom they knew not, they came, but these brought friends into bondage that had well deserved of them, and not only so, but peradventure some respect shall be had of those, because they used strangers not friendly. So what was going on was, when people come through the city, they bond these people and rape them. That's what it's talking about. They would rape men coming through the city. And then it's like basically after that, but these very grievously afflicted them. But these very grievously afflicted them, whom they had received with feastings, and were already made partakers of the same laws with them. What does it mean, made partakers of the same laws with them? No longer had a problem with homosexuality now. These people were eating with them, feasting, and they no longer had a problem with homosexuality now. The gross darkness is contagious. They would see people, strangers coming through the city, and they would bound them and then rape them and stuff like that. That's type of stuff. And so it would be people that would come through Sodom that were straight, but when they leave, they were no longer straight. They didn't leave the same way. Just like we come from where we come from, and we are straight, and we hate homosexuality. There's a big, we understand, you see what I'm saying? We come from a place, we raised up a place, we got the understanding homosexuality is wrong, is this, but then when you get brought to America, covered in gross darkness, stripped in, dipped in, stuck into all types of different bewitchings, and next thing you know, homosexuality is cool. It's okay to be a homosexual. You see how you've been covered in that gross darkness. Now you go along with it. Bewitching have this the bewitching of naughtiness obscured those things that are right or honest. They become a part of the foolishness, the witchcraft. You cannot be a part of America's foolery, and that's just a way of example of it, of the sodomite agenda, because that's one of the hardest things that's being pushed in today's earth. So I'm pointing that out so you can see. Think about the time when we were in school. How was homosexuality looked at? It wasn't cool. There were no parameters around what could make it okay. Now look at today. So these people were turning men out. They were Still, and you see it going on today. That's why we can't be a part of this agenda. And that's just one of the many sins that I'm showing you to tie into the gross darkness. So now, Second Ezra chapter 5. So now, understand that America's destruction is coming. The destruction is coming. But what did the Lord tell us to watch for? It'll be certain things. Second Ezra chapter 5, right? And it says, verse 7, and the Sodomite sea shall cast out fish. It says the Sodomite sea shall cast out fish. And so you start to see these videos surface every now and then about all these fish starting to arrive up dead on shore. That was going to be the signs of, that was going to be some of the signs before is on and popping. You're going to start seeing dead fish start popping up among shore. Lots of them popping up among shore. And the Sodomite sea shall cast out fish and make a noise in the night, which many have not known, but they shall hear the voice thereof. Now, what happened to Sodom and Gomorrah? What happened to Babylon? What happened to Sodom and Gomorrah? The people became covered in gross darkness. We saw what they tried to do to the angels. We reading about the history and wisdom of Solomon of what they were doing to men passing through the city. Strangers, men. They already had men. The city was full of homosexuals. They already had men that were going along, but they would take strangers, men who weren't a part of that thing, and make them and bound them to that lifestyle. Same thing you see now. What are they doing? They muting all the brothers who's supposed to be speaking up against those things, and they're pushing it on to the kids, the men. They pushing it all amongst the world. That's just, but like I said, that's just one of the many sins. We can't become a part of America. What I'm doing this today is because this is not our land of rest. This land is a land that is set for destruction. You cannot become a part of America. You cannot, because when it's time for us to leave, you can't take nothing with you from America. Remember, the Lord told us to build vineyards, build house. It says build houses, plant vineyards, create families, but it never said we was going to stay here forever. I'm saying, now, why am I doing this? Because you don't want to be hand in hand with the America, because the Lord's will is getting ready to be done. Let's go to Matthew 6. Matthew chapter 6 and verse 9. Matthew chapter 6 and verse 9. And it reads, after this manner, therefore, pray ye, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done. Thy will be done. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. So it says that the Lord's will is going to be done. The Lord's kingdom is coming to earth. Understand this. And the kingdom of the Lord is where righteousness reigneth forever. The Israelites are back in rulership. But there's a judgment, because the Lord said, what good is it for you to suffer throughout this whole life? You as Israelite, what good is it for you to suffer through this whole life and then die, and to die and to look for judgment again? The scriptures say that it don't make no sense for you to go through this whole life, go through all this hell in this life, and then when you pass, you wake up to look for judgment. because the kingdom is set for you. But if you make yourself one with this kingdom, which is nothing but Satan's seat, not only did you get the hell harder to stick, you went through hell in this life, but now you're waking up looking for a judgment. Second Ezra chapter 7. Second Ezra chapter 7, verse 47. Second Ezra chapter 7, verse 47. And it reads, for what profit is it for men now in this present time to live in heaviness? That's us, the Israelites. We're in heaven. This is not our land of rest. It says, what profit is it for you to go through this life, the heaviness of this life at this present time? For what profit is it for men now in this present time to live in heaviness, and after death look for punishment? What good, like, oh God, you looking for double? Remember how we tell Esau right now, anytime I see a white man that's on the streets struggling or homeless, going through here, whatever, I say, you a double loser. You a two-time loser. You want to be a two-time loser? You a two-time loser. That's what happens to you if you don't get the kingdom. You a two-time loser. You went through hell here, and then you woke up to another punishment. Esau, if you homeless, you going through hell right now, you a two-time loser. This is your kingdom, and you going through hell. And then you finna go through slavery? Don't be a two. Don't. This is what I'm saying. The Lord said it's double in the cup for America. Don't you get double. You better find a way to get the kingdom, bro. You better find a way to get the kingdom. What profit is it? This life has been hell for us. And then you're going to wake up to a judgment. Why? Because you became one with America? America's getting ready to be destroyed. Watch this. It's already been written. What was said though? Let's go to Revelation 18 and 4 again. This is Revelation chapter 18 and verse 4. Now, first of all, who is this whore that we're reading about that's going to be burned? Let's read first. Revelation 18 and 4 says, and I heard a voice saying, come up out of, I heard a voice of Salaki. Revelation 18 and 4, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come up out of her, my people. Come up out of who? Jump back to Revelation 17, verse 5. Revelation chapter 17, verse 5. And upon her head was written, Mystery Babylon, the great mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. So she's the great mother, she's the great whore, the mother of harlots, and abominations of the earth. What land does everybody eat off and live deliciously upon the earth? What land does everybody want to get to? What is the great city? America. Let's go back to Revelation 18 and 4. It says, come up out of her, my people. Come up out of America. Babylon, Sodom, spiritual Egypt. These are all the names and descriptions that describe this place here that we dwell in. And it says that this place, you better come up out of her. Why? Because, and be ye not partakers of her sin, that ye receive none of her plagues. The destruction is coming to this place. I'm telling you, watch this. Let's go to, remember what happened. Let's go to, damn, there's something in my head I just can't think of. Let's go back to, let me look. Let's go to, we're talking about the destruction. What's coming? All right. So now you got to remember to be ready to come up out of her. Go to, damn, I can't get the thought. Let's go back to 2 Ezra 5. Second Ezra chapter 5. And it reads, you're going to start at 1. Second Ezra chapter 5, verse 1, it reads, nevertheless, as concerning the tokens, behold, the day shall come that they which dwell upon the earth shall be taken in a great number, and the way of truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith. But iniquity shall be increased above that which now thou seest, or now or that thou hast heard long ago. Now remember, I was telling you, it's gonna come time where the people gonna be covered in gross darkness. It's gonna be so much wickedness going on. I know y'all. Some of y'all think it's a joke when I say, yeah, people are going to be trying to slay you. People are going to be killing people for the food that they have. People, it's going to be so much wickedness going on, and then at the same time, destruction is going on in America. America's being burnt to the ground. Watch. So it says, but iniquity shall be increased above that which now thou seest, or that thou hast heard long ago. I mean, it's going to be most wickedness. Iniquity going to be increased to a level higher than ever before, ever heard of or ever seen. And it says, in that time when it's going down. And it says, verse 3, and the land that thou seest now to have root shall thou see wasted suddenly. It says just the land is going to start being wasted suddenly out of the blue. Remember, what was people doing? Remember, when the destruction hit, you just got to remember, it says suddenly out of nowhere, boom, fast. It's just fast. It just happens. It's going to catch people off guard. Remember, let's go to Luke to give you kind of like an example of what it's saying. It's just all the wickedness is going to be toward high, and then out of nowhere, suddenly, suddenly. Go to Luke 17. What does it mean suddenly? How do we always talk about how the destruction of America gonna come? What was the people? Let's go to Luke 17:30. No, Luke chapter 17. I'm gonna start at verse 28. No, I'm gonna start at 26. It says, "As it was in the days of Noah, which is Noah, so shall it be in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage until the day Noah went and entered the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all." So suddenly Noah went on the ark, and then suddenly destruction came. It's just like it's likewise, it shall also be in the days of Lot. They did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they builded house, and they build it. That's the same thing that we supposed to be doing. Remember that. Notice how it says, what was we told to do? We were told to build houses, plant vineyards, marry wives, marry our sons and daughters off. We had the same order. So what you think is telling you exactly people gonna be doing these same things. What you see people running to do now? Buy land. What you see people trying to do now? Build houses. What you see people trying to do now? Plant vineyards. Everything is described exactly how it says it's gonna go. And then suddenly, but what do you see going on amongst everybody while that's going on? Sin is being spiked higher, 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 higher. We're getting closer and closer. I'm telling you, the destruction is getting ready to come. And that's why you better be detaching. Don't join in with America. Don't get caught hand in hand. Don't get caught falling in love and glorifying this place and all that. Because when the time comes, jump down to verse 32. All you need to remember, the only thing you got to remember about all this is remember Lot's wife. Verse 32, remember Lot's wife. Remember Lot's wife. Come up out of America like 18:4 said. Let's go to Genesis 19. In Genesis chapter 19, it says, verse 18, 19 and 18, and it reads, "And Lot said unto them, O not so, my Lord. Behold, now thy servant hath found grace in thy sight. Thou hast magnified thy mercy, which thou hast showed unto me, in saving my life. I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me, and I die. Behold, now the city is near. Now the Salaki, but now be Salaki. Verse 20. Behold, now this city is near to flee unto, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither. It is not a little one, and my soul shall live. And he said unto him, I see, I have accepted thee concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow this city for which thou hast spoken. Haste thee, escape thither, for I cannot do anything till thou become thither. Therefore, the name of the city was called Zorah. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zorah. Then the Lord rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah. Rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah, brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities, and that which grew upon them. But his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. So it's things in America or in Babylon or in Sodom, Salakia, that his wife was attached to. She missed those things. It was just like when we read about the history of our forefathers in the wilderness. What did our people do? They start complaining and crying about pots of food that they used to eat in Egypt. They missed the captivity. She was attached to it. You can't be attached to this. This is Satan's seat. It's something. That's why when we read in Luke 17:33, it said, remember Lot's wife. Lot's wife wasn't ready to lead a place, and therefore she was destroyed with it. This place, being hand in hand with America, is leading nothing to destruction, because America's destruction is coming. Why did I read Genesis 19 to history of what? Showing what? They had to come up out of. They had to come up out of her. They had to come up out of Sodom. They had to come up out of Gomorrah. They had to come up out of them. They detached themselves and they left that place, and that place was destroyed. Same thing with you. When we read in Revelation 18:4, it's time for you to come up out of her. It's time for you to come up out of the fashions, the ways. You cannot be covered and you cannot be hand in hand with America, because America's sin is spiked up to the point where it's reached the heavens. And guess what? She ain't innocent. You and those who join in hand in hand with her ain't gonna be innocent. This place is about to be destroyed, and you could be destroyed with it. And it's going to come suddenly. Let's go back to 2nd Ezra 5. 2nd Ezra chapter 5, and it reads at verse 3. 2nd Ezra 5 and 3. 2nd Ezra 5 and 3, and it reads, and the land that thou seest now to have root, shalt thou seest wasted suddenly. But if the Most High grant thee to live, why does it say that? If the Most High grant thee to live, but if the Most High grant thee to live, listen what it's saying. It says, and the land thou seest now to have root, shall thou see wasted suddenly. But if the Most High grant thee to live, we grant thee to live, because it's going to be so much stuff going on in that time. There's going to be so much stuff going on in that time. They are going to be slaying the people with the truth. No one's going to want to hear God's word at that time. They're not going to hear what we're saying. Why? Because they're covered in gross darkness. Remember, righteousness is abomination to a sinner and to the foolish. So, and they will be killing us and slaying us just like the mortals, and thinking that they're doing God's work. They slayed Stephen thinking they doing God's work. They slayed Christ and would believe they was doing God's work. They're going to slay some of us and believe they doing God's work, or portray it to the people as if it was God's work. But it says, if the Lord grant thee to live. So let's read again. In the land In the land that thou seest now to have root shall thou see wasted suddenly. But if the Most High grant thee to live, thou shalt see after the third trumpet that the sun shall suddenly shine again, and in the night the moon thrice in the day. And the blood shall drop out of the wood, and the stone shall give its voice, and the people shall be troubled. It says, and even he shall rule whom they look not for that dwell upon the earth, and the fowls shall take their flight and fly away together. So it says that it shall suddenly be destroyed, and suddenly to be destroyed if the Lord grant thee to live. What type of stuff? Let's go to Psalms 91 real quick. Psalms 91 and reads, we're going to start at verse. Psalms 91, we're going to start at verse 3. Psalms 91, verse 3, and reads, surely he shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler, and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with his feathers, and under his wings shalt thou trust. His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day. When it's talking about the arrow that flieth by day, it's talking about the bombs that's going to be burning and destroying America, because America is going to be burned and it's going to be destroyed. And remember how I said in Esdras that we would the sea would make it would make noises at night. You know what I'm saying? It says you will not be troubled by the let's read again. Thou shalt not be afraid of you should not thou shalt not be afraid. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flieth by day. That's talking about the bombs that's going to be and the missiles that's going to be destroying America. It says, nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness, nor for the destruction that wasteth at noonday. It's telling you when it's going to hit. It's going to boom. Bombs are going to be hitting, and it's not for. It's just all you got to do is think about people that's living over there in the east, where America drops bombs on them all the time. They see bombs splatting, bombing, and they've seen it. In the noon days, they've seen it. The roads are going to flip. You're going to see these things going on in America, and when they start happening, it says that verse 7: 1,000 shall fall at thy right side, and 10,000 Salakia. And read 6 again. Nor for the pestilence that walketh in the day, walketh in the darkness, for nor the destruction that wasteth at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy right, 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. That's only if. 2 Ezra 5 and verse 4. But if the Most High grant thee to live, if the Most High grant thee to live, thou shalt see after the third trumpet, the sun shall suddenly shine again, and the night and the moon thrice. Verse 5, the blood shall drop out of the wood, the stone shall give his voice, and the people shall be troubled. It says, verse 6, Psalms 91:6. Nor the pestilence that walketh in the day, nor the destruction that wasteth at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, 10,000 shall fall at thy right hand, but it shall not come, it shall not, but it shall not come nigh thee. Only with thine eyes shalt thou behold and see the reward of the wicked. America's going to be destroyed. Let's go to Revelations. No, we're going back to Luke 17. Luke 17, and start at 28. Luke 17:28. Likewise also as it was in the days of Lot, they did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they plant, and they builded. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. And that day, he which shall be upon the housetop and his stuff and his house and his Salakia. I hate the way that should be worded sometimes. It says, even thus shall it be in the day when the Son of Man is revealed. And that day he which shall be upon the housetop and his stuff in the house, let him come not down to take it away. And he that is in the field, let him likewise not return back. Remember, that's all because you ain't taking this stuff with you. So just like they were doing in the days of Sodom, doing their own thing and whatever the case may be. As soon as Lot left Sodom, as soon as he got out of there, the Lord destroyed it with rain and fire. With rain, fire, and brimstone and stuff. And it's telling you, it's the same way it's going to happen here. America is going to be burned. That's why it says, remember Lot's wife. Do not get attached to this place. Do not become hand in hand. Do not become hand in hand with America. Do not join in. Do not buy into his ways. Come up out of his mindset because it's pushing, bewitching, and sin has been spiked. Let's go back to Revelations. So it says, but the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. How's America told it was going to be destroyed? That's why I tell y'all, come up out of her. Same way Lot came up out of Sodom. It's the same way we got to come up out of Sodom and Gomorrah. And I ain't talking about you being a Sodomite, but you know what I mean. Sodom and Gomorrah, that wickedness, this land, America, you got to come up out of her ways, because Lord rained brimstone and fire upon Sodom soon as Lot left, symbolizing as soon as the righteous are sealed up, destruction is coming. We leaving up out of here. But until then, you must come up out of America's ways, fashions, religions, lifestyles, strongholds, and the lies. Verse, how was America prophesied to be put down? Let's read it again first. Revelation 18:4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she hath rewarded you, and double Salakia. Let me jump down to the point. Verse 8. Therefore her plague shall come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord who judgeth her. It says that this place, Babylon, America, Sodom, Gomorrah, shall be burned with fire. And we know that this is the spiritual Sodom. Let's get Revelation 11. Says Revelation chapter 11, verse 8. Revelation chapter 11, verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the streets of the great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where our Lord was crucified. So America is going to be put down the same way the real Sodom and Gomorrah was put down. Do not be a part of America's players. The wickedness of this place has reached unto heaven, and the Lord has promised. The Lord has written how it's going down. The Lord's words is true. What good does it do you to go through this life of torment and hell, heaviness, constant affliction, constantly enduring, going through it all, to wake up into judgment, to wake up into to be a two-time loser? Don't be a poor homeless Edomite in his own kingdom. Because what profit was it to him? He done went through as a two-time loser. He suffered in his kingdom, and then he got to come back and pay the double back for what his people did. Likewise with you. Why would you go through this wicked kingdom, this present life, and then now when it's your turn to reap the benefits for enduring, you look just for another punishment? Lord told us to get your mind right, be ready to constantly endure. And that means the only way you're going to find yourself not doing it is you're going to have to. Psalms 94 and 16. Psalms chapter 94, verse 16. Psalms 94, 16, and reads, who will rise up for me against the evildoers, and who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity? The only way you're going to be able to do it is you're going to have to rise up against iniquity. You're going to have to rise up against the evildoers, because if not, you're going to, and that's the only way. Or else you're going to find yourself slowly buying into it. And before you know it, the bewitching of naughtiness excuse that which is right or honest. You have to rise up again. You have to constantly speak against the wickedness of this land. You have to constantly speak against America. You have to constantly stand up for the Most High. My people, don't get caught up in this thing, because destruction is coming to this place. Lord's will, I see y'all later on today. Shalom, Most High in Christ. Happy Sabbath.